If you are over 60, your muscle cells are receiving roughly 38% less oxygen than they did when you were 30. That number comes from near-infrared spectroscopy studies measuring oxygen saturation directly inside living human tissue. Your cells are suffocating, slowly, silently, right now. And the consequences show up as fatigue, stiffness, brain fog, and a body that feels 10 years older than it should. Most people believe oxygen is either a problem or it is not. You breathe in, your lungs fill, oxygen enters your blood. End of story. That is what you were taught, and for decades it seemed like enough. The assumption is simple. If you are not gasping, your cells are fine. That assumption is wrong. Your lungs may be working. Your blood oxygen reading at the doctor's office might say 97%, and you walk out thinking everything is normal. But that number only measures oxygen in your arterial blood. It tells you nothing, absolutely nothing, about what is actually arriving at the destination. Your muscle fibers, your brain tissue, your organs. The gap between oxygen in your bloodstream and oxygen inside your cells is where the real crisis hides. Researchers at multiple universities have now confirmed that this gap widens dramatically after age 60. A 2022 review published in the Journal of Functional Morphology and Kinesiology examined adults over 65 and found that muscle oxygen saturation, the actual percentage of oxygen available inside working tissue, drops by 38% at rest compared to younger adults. During exercise, that gap explodes to nearly 59%. Your blood might be carrying the oxygen, but your cells are not receiving it. And the reason is not your lungs. It is not even your heart necessarily. The breakdown is happening in a system most doctors never examine and most patients have never heard of, the microcirculation. The smallest blood vessels in your body, the ones you cannot see, the ones that are quietly disappearing. But the real question is why this is happening, and the answer involves at least 3 separate biological failures that accelerate after age 60, each one feeding the others in a vicious cycle your body cannot escape on its own. To understand what is actually going wrong, you need to picture how oxygen gets from your lungs to a single muscle cell in your thigh. Think of it like a highway system. Your heart pumps oxygenated blood through large arteries. Those are the interstate highways. Those arteries branch into smaller arterioles, the state roads. And those arterioles feed into capillaries, the tiny neighborhood streets that run directly past your cells. Oxygen does not jump from the interstate into your house. It must travel all the way down to the smallest street, pass through the capillary wall, and physically cross into the cell. If the neighborhood streets are damaged, closed off, or simply gone, it does not matter how much traffic the highway is carrying. The delivery fails. This is exactly what happens as you age, and the first failure point is capillary loss. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology by researchers at Maastricht University found that adults over 60 have 12 to 25% fewer capillaries in direct contact with each individual muscle fiber compared to adults in their 20s. That is not a subtle shift. That is entire delivery routes being shut down. Fewer capillaries means a longer distance for oxygen to travel once it leaves the blood vessel, and a longer distance means less oxygen arrives before it is consumed by other tissue or simply dissipates. A 12-year longitudinal follow-up study tracked older adults from approximately age 65 to age 78. Over that period, their capillary-to-fiber ratio dropped by 20%, from about 1.39 to 1.08. 1 in 5 delivery routes gone, and these were healthy adults, not hospitalized, not bedridden, just living their normal lives. Here is what makes this worse. Your body is not just losing capillaries passively, the way a road slowly crumbles. There is an active destructive process at work called capillary rarefaction. Reactive oxygen species, ROS, are molecules your mitochondria produce as a byproduct of energy generation. In your 20s and 30s, your body manages ROS efficiently. Antioxidant enzymes scavenge them, neutralize them, keep them in check. But after 60, the balance tips. ROS production increases. Scavenging capacity decreases, and the excess ROS directly attacks the walls of your smallest blood vessels. The result is inflammation inside the capillary lining, followed by structural damage, followed by the capillaries simply ceasing to function and being absorbed by surrounding tissue. Your body is dismantling its own delivery network, and the research is still evolving on this, but many scientists believe this capillary loss is one of the earliest and most consequential events in the entire aging cascade, possibly even driving sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. Now, here is something your doctor probably never told you. When capillary density drops, the remaining capillaries have to work harder. They carry more blood, they are under more pressure, and they are surrounded by a microscopic protective coating called the glycocalyx, a gel-like layer of sugar molecules and proteins that lines the inside of every blood vessel. The glycocalyx controls what passes through the capillary wall. It regulates blood flow. It is your body's final gatekeeper between your blood and your cells. A 2018 study from researchers at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center found that aging causes significant deterioration of the glycocalyx. In older adults, this protective layer becomes thinner, patchier, and less functional. When the glycocalyx degrades, capillaries become leaky in the wrong ways and restrictive in others. Oxygen transfer becomes erratic. Some cells get flooded with inflammatory molecules. Others get starved of oxygen entirely. But this is only half the story. What happens at the molecular level, inside the cell itself, is even more troubling. Once oxygen crosses the capillary wall and enters your cell, it has one final destination, your mitochondria. These are the structures inside every cell that convert oxygen and nutrients into ATP, the energy currency your body runs on. You have roughly 10 million billion mitochondria in your body. Every heartbeat, every thought, every step depends on them. And after age 60, they start to fail. A 2021 study published in Nature Communications by researchers at Maastricht University Medical Center examined both young adults, average age 24, and older adults, average age 71, with similar physical activity levels. They measured mitochondrial function directly, using both muscle biopsies and phosphorus magnetic resonance spectroscopy. The findings were stark. The maximal capacity of the electron transport chain, the mitochondrial assembly line that uses oxygen to produce energy, was 17% lower in older adults. The rate at which mitochondria recovered after exertion was 16% slower. These were not sedentary, frail people. These were healthy, active older adults. And still, their cellular power plants were running at a significant deficit. If you have ever woken up exhausted despite sleeping 8 hours, if your legs feel heavy after climbing a single flight of stairs, if you notice that your recovery after a walk takes longer than it used to, this is what is happening inside your body. Your mitochondria are demanding oxygen. Your capillaries are delivering less of it, and the mitochondria themselves are less efficient at using what does arrive. Think of it like a factory with two problems at once. The supply trucks are delivering fewer raw materials, and the machines on the factory floor are older, slower, and wasting more of what they receive. The output collapses from both directions. Now here is where it connects to something you feel every single day, but probably attribute to just getting older. Your VO2 max, the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during intense effort, declines at roughly 10% per decade after age 30 in sedentary individuals. By the time you are 65, depending on who you ask, you may have lost 30 to 40% of your peak aerobic capacity. That is not just a fitness number. VO2 max is one of the single strongest predictors of all-cause mortality. A 2018 study in the Journal of the American Medical Association involving over 122,000 patients found that low cardiorespiratory fitness was a greater risk factor for death than smoking, diabetes, or heart disease. Your oxygen system is not a luxury, it is a survival system, and it is eroding. If this is making sense to you, and you want the third part of this, the part about the hidden molecular signal that controls all of it, subscribe now, because that section is coming in about 4 minutes, and it changes the way you think about every breath you take. There is a third failure layer most people never learn about, and it may be the most important one of all, because unlike capillary loss and mitochondrial decline, this one starts decades earlier and accelerates everything else. What almost nobody talks about is nitric oxide. Not nitrous oxide, the gas dentists use. Nitric oxide. A molecule so small it barely exists. One nitrogen atom bonded to one oxygen atom. It is produced inside the lining of your blood vessels by an enzyme called endothelial nitric oxide synthase, ENOS for short. and it is the single most important signaling molecule in your entire vascular system. When nitric oxide is released, your blood vessels relax. They widen. Blood flows faster. Oxygen delivery increases. Capillaries stay open and functional. Your blood pressure stays in a healthy range. Nitric oxide is the master switch. It tells your blood vessels to open. And here is the problem. Your production of nitric oxide drops relentlessly with age. Researchers at the University of Colorado Boulder have documented that endothelial function, the ability of your blood vessel lining to produce nitric oxide, declines significantly in healthy adults beginning in their 40s and continuing through their 70s. Some researchers estimate the decline at roughly 50% by age 70, though the exact percentage varies between individuals and studies. The mechanism is well documented. As you age, oxidative stress increases inside endothelial cells. A rogue molecule called superoxide directly neutralizes nitric oxide before it can do its job. Your body is still trying to make it, but the moment it appears, superoxide destroys it. Read that again. Your body is producing the molecule it needs to keep your blood flowing and your cells oxygenated. And another molecule is destroying it faster than it can work. This is not a nutrient deficiency. This is a chemical war happening inside the walls of your arteries every second of every day. And the casualties are your capillaries, your muscles, your brain, and your energy. A review published in the journal Aging and Disease in 2023 confirmed that glycocalyx deterioration, that protective coating on your capillaries, is directly worsened by nitric oxide deficiency. Without adequate nitric oxide, the glycocalyx thins faster, capillaries become more dysfunctional, and the downstream oxygen starvation accelerates. The three failures, capillary loss, mitochondrial decline, and nitric oxide collapse, are not separate problems. They are a single interlocking system of decline. Each one makes the other two worse. There is one more detail that makes this personal. Your red blood cells, the cells that carry oxygen, change shape as they age. They become stiffer, less flexible. A healthy red blood cell is soft enough to fold itself nearly in half, to squeeze through a capillary that is narrower than its own diameter. Research published in the journal Aging and Disease in 2024 found that red blood cell deformability decreases measurably in older adults. Stiffer red blood cells move through damaged, narrowed capillaries even more slowly. Less oxygen gets delivered. The whole system stalls. So the question becomes, if your body has these built-in mechanisms that are failing, is there anything you can actually do to push them back in the other direction? The answer is yes, and the science is specific. Here is a 5-step protocol based on peer-reviewed research, not internet health trends. Each step targets a specific failure in the oxygen delivery chain. Step 1. Nasal breathing with humming. Do this for 5 minutes every morning, immediately after waking. Close your mouth, inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, then exhale through your nose while humming at a low pitch for 6 to 8 seconds. Repeat for 5 minutes. A 2002 study from the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, published in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, found that humming during nasal exhalation increases nitric oxide output from the sinuses by 15-fold compared to quiet exhalation. That nitric oxide enters your airways, reaches your bloodstream, and promotes vasodilation. This is a free, daily nitric oxide boost that takes 5 minutes and requires no equipment. Step 2. Interval walking. 3 times per week, walk for 30 minutes using a simple pattern. 3 minutes at a comfortable pace, followed by 3 minutes at a pace that makes conversation difficult. Alternate for the full 30 minutes. Dr. Hiroshi Noze at Shinshu University in Japan has studied this exact protocol in over 5,000 adults aged 60 and older since 2004. His research shows that interval walking training improves VO2 max, lowers blood pressure, and increases leg muscle strength in older adults more effectively than continuous moderate walking. The brief, high-intensity segments stimulate capillary growth and mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria, through activation of the PGC1 alpha pathway. Step 3. Dietary nitrate loading. Eat 1 cup of raw or roasted beets, arugula, or spinach daily, or drink 70 milliliters of concentrated beetroot juice. Your body converts the inorganic nitrate in these foods into nitric oxide through a pathway that does not depend on the endothelial enzyme that aging has already impaired. This is a backup system. A 2019 pilot study at Wake Forest University found that medium-term beetroot juice supplementation improved blood pressure and large vessel endothelial function in healthy older adults. The nitrate to nitric oxide conversion relies on bacteria on the back of your tongue, which means if you use antiseptic mouthwash daily, you may be killing the very bacteria your body needs. Some scientists dispute the magnitude of the effect in all populations, but the biochemical pathway is well established. Step 4. Targeted breathing for diaphragm strength. Lie on your back with your knees bent. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Breathe so that only the belly hand moves. The chest stays still. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 6 counts. Do this for 5 minutes, twice daily. This strengthens the diaphragm, improves lung expansion, and enhances oxygen exchange efficiency. A 2023 review, published in Advances in Rehabilitation Science and Practice, confirmed that breathing exercises measurably reduce oxidative stress biomarkers in both healthy adults and those with chronic conditions. Step 5. Cold water face immersion. Once daily, fill a bowl with cold water, approximately 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, and submerge your face for 15 to 30 seconds. This triggers the mammalian dive reflex, which activates the vagus nerve, slows heart rate, and causes a redistribution of blood flow toward your core and vital organs. Historians still argue whether this reflex was primarily an adaptation for diving or for thermoregulation, but the vascular effects are measurable and immediate. If even one of these steps was new to you, hit like. It tells the algorithm to show this to more people who need it. That one tap makes a real difference. Here is what nobody tells you about aging. The decline you feel, the heaviness in your legs, the slowness in your thinking, the fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to fix, is not some mysterious, inevitable deterioration. It has specific, identifiable, mechanical causes. Your capillaries are disappearing, your mitochondria are slowing down, your nitric oxide is being destroyed before it can work, and your red blood cells are too stiff to squeeze through the vessels that remain. But your body has not given up. It has not stopped trying to deliver oxygen to your cells. It is fighting that fight right now as you listen to this. The system is damaged, but it is not dead. And the research, from Maastricht, from Karolinska, from Shinshu, from Wake Forest, from Colorado, all points in the same direction. The decline can be slowed, in some cases partially reversed. Not with a pill, not with a gadget, with movement, with breathing, with food, and with understanding. I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What was the one thing in this video you wish you had known 10 years ago? I read these comments. They shape what I research next. There is a sentence I want to leave you with. It is not mine. It belongs to the biology. Your cells are not dying. They are just holding their breath. That is the truth of it. Your body is waiting for you to give it what it needs. More blood flow, more nitric oxide, more oxygen at the cellular level. Not more medicine, more circulation, more movement, more air through the nose, not the mouth. You did not lose your energy. Your delivery system lost its roads, and roads can be rebuilt. Share this with someone who needs it. Someone who has been blaming themselves for feeling tired, for slowing down, for not being who they were at 40. It is not their fault, and it is not too late. If you have not subscribed yet, you should. What is coming next week is something I have been researching for over 2 months, and it connects directly to what you learned today. Your body is still listening. The question is whether you will answer.